What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that was hyped up in the horror community. And a while back, I actually ranked this entire franchise. And believe it or not, when I did the ranked list, it was my first time ever watching the series as a whole. When I was younger, when these movies were first released, I watched, I think, the first four, and that was it. I didn't watch anything else. It just at the time wasn't something I was super interested in. And coming back and revisiting them, one of the things I found out about the Saw franchise is that I absolutely love these movies because they're so stupid. I think it's really funny. If anyone thinks that these are like real horror movies, it just baffles me. The best way I explain the Saw films to people who haven't seen them before is like if you gave the Lifetime channel the ability to make a horror franchise. Like if they had a budget, they had the ability to add gore effects. Like half the films feel like soap operas with just how absurd the endings are. They make absolutely no sense. They retcon timelines consistently. Characters die left and right and get brought back to life. It's just the silliest, stupidest franchise of movies, and I have a lot of fun with it. I think the traps are really creative and interesting. The character writing is really cheesy and over the top, which is something I appreciate, especially in the later installments of the franchise, like 5, 6, and 7. The movies just get really silly and stupid in a way that I really appreciated. So Saw 10 was announced, which I think the film that we got previously to this was Spiral, which the film that starred Chris Rock. And Spiral was the film I liked the least. If you watch my rank list video, this was the bottom film for me, which was surprising because it was from the director that made the second, third, and maybe fourth, which are my 3 favorite films in the franchise. They're the silliest, most over-the-top, dumb movies, and I just love them a lot. And Spiral was terrible. I hated it. I thought the pacing was horrible, took itself way too seriously. It didn't feel like a film in the Saw universe. It felt like something completely different. And so when Saw 10 was announced, knowing that a lot of people that have worked on the franchise before were involved, I was very excited to watch it, and I'm looking forward to telling you my thoughts on it today. Saw 10 is directed by Kevin Greutert. Between the events of Saw and Saw 2, a sick and desperate John Kramer travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with a newfound purpose, the infamous serial killer returns to his work, turning the tables on the con artist in his signature visceral way through devious, deranged, and ingenious traps. So when this first got released, a lot of people were calling this the best film in the Saw franchise. People seem to really enjoy it, so I was very excited to watch it. And I'm happy to report this is Saw back on its silly, goofy bullshit, which is the thing I love about it. As far as where this would land in my rating, I'm not 100% sure right now. I just watched it. I would have to go back and revisit some of them to see how I feel about it, but it would definitely, I think, be in the top 5 in the franchise for me. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I think that this movie falls back into the doesn't take itself too seriously, has more absurdist twists that you're just staring at the screen like, really, they went that direction. But I'll break it down a little bit more in the full review. So as the plot description states, this takes place between Saw and Saw 2, and the main reason for that is they wanted Tobin Bell to be a big part of the movie, which is great because Tobin Bell is one of the best parts of this series as John Kramer, Jigsaw. At the beginning of the movie, they bring back up that he's dealing with this cancer, that he's struggling with it. He's going to these support meetings. He's kind of at the end of his rope, realizing that he doesn't have a whole lot of time left. Well, he's going to these cancer support meetings, and one day he's out getting food somewhere, and he runs into one of the guys that was at his cancer support meeting before, and he's like, "Hey, weren't you stage 4? Like, didn't something happen? Like, how did you make it?" And the guy said, "You're never going to believe this. I did this experimental surgery. It's not greenlit in the United States, but these people are working miracles, and it's this daughter of this prolific doctor who's done a lot of really great work, who is doing these surgeries." And he says, "I can give you the information. You can contact her and see if they're available." So he contacts her. She says that it'd probably be like a couple of weeks before they'd be able to get him out there. She realizes he probably won't live that long and says, "Okay, you need to fly to Mexico. I'll bring you here and you'll be able to get the surgery. Well, he flies to Mexico, meets all of the people that are involved, gets the surgery done, gets out of anesthesia, gets back home and realizes that they didn't actually conduct surgery on him, that it was all a scam to steal money from people. He ends up getting Amanda, who you probably know from the first few installments of the Saw franchise, to come help him kidnap these people and put them in Saw traps for giving him fake surgery. And it's as ridiculous as it sounds. I think the thing about this movie that I enjoyed so much is, like, for the first like half hour of this movie, they're really trying to make you empathize for a serial killer, and it's hilarious. I mean, the way that the morality of the entire franchise and the way it's constructed is relatively hilarious. It's like, I'm not committing these murders, I'm putting people in these situations so that they can value their lives and realize what they're throwing away, and I'm just putting them in situations that if they don't hit these things in the exact right amount of time, they're gonna die. Which, as we learn in this movie, a lot of the people succeed in completing the tasks that they're given to them. They just don't give the stuff enough time to dissolve or to hit a weight correctly, and they end up dying because of that. And so the morality of the film is hilarious to me. I love it. I've loved it the whole franchise because it's silly and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so the fact they spend this movie trying to get you to feel bad for a guy who's doing this really horrible stuff is hysterical. Now, do I feel bad for the people who scammed him out of his money? Absolutely not. That's what makes the movie so hilarious. They are horrible people for trying to provide this service saying, we're going to cure your disease, we're going to make you all better, and then stealing people's money and running away so that they can die after they tell their families that they're going to be healed. And I think that that made the movie really entertaining, because I'm always curious as to what direction they're going to take these Saw films. And the fact that the first half hour of the movie is dedicated to that is pretty wonderful. As far as the traps are concerned, there's some really cool stuff in this movie. I would say it's not as inventive as some of the other films because they're in this warehouse in Mexico where they all know John's there. They know he's the one that's doing it. They understand the reason why he's doing it is because they took advantage of him. So it takes a level of the mystery out that exists in the other films. And because it's all in one room, there's always these big lead ups as somebody's putting a VHS tape in here, or somebody's hitting a tape recorder, or there's all these different things in the previous films where in this there's a tape recorder and they're like, I'm not gonna play it, and then he comes over the intercom and is like, oh yes, you're going to play. It's stupid, but that kind of adds to the charm as well. But yeah, it's all really in this one room. The traps in this one are gnarly, and I liked that about it. A guy has to perform brain surgery on himself at one point, which I was like, all right, that one's really cool. And there's an inventiveness to it. I just don't feel like it's to the grand scale of some of the other films in the franchise, which is upsetting. But at the same time, when you're coming back for the 10th installment in a franchise that's technically Saw 1.5, if you want to look at it in the timeline of events, which the timeline to this franchise, if you can keep up with it, more power to you. I think Tobin Bell's performance in this is great. He always gives it his all. Everybody else in the movie is fine. The third act in this goes in a direction that has had me laughing so hard at one point that I was in tears. It's that absurd. Just the most ridiculous, insane direction that they could have ever taken these movies. And I had a lot of fun with it. I think, when you watch a Saw film, you're looking for cheesy dialogue, really intense traps, goofy storyline, twists and turns along the way. And I think if you're a fan of the franchise, this is a perfect addition in the franchise. I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel by any means, but it fits in that franchise perfectly. So have you seen Saw 10? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was a ton of fun. Exactly what I'm looking for in a Saw film. Absurdity. The third act had me laughing so hard. I was in tears. Just absolutely wonderful. Couldn't have asked for more. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. Recently, I just hit 1,600 subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to watch my videos. So so many of you leave me wonderful comments that I love reading and responding to. It's just really great that I get to do this. I have such wonderful engagement from the following that I have. You guys are wonderful. I appreciate you all so much. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.